Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Pod Up Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Wednesday. We got JC in just a second. Second portion of the show will be joined by Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Get his thoughts on what he's hearing around Gator football, also with Gator basketball. Gator basketball plays tonight at Tennessee. Not sure of the tip time. I haven't looked yet. If you missed it last night, Kentucky beats Mississippi State in overtime. Alabama loses once again. And Auburn gets a 1-point win as the number one team in America at Missouri. I got some thoughts on that Auburn game. I saw the last 10 minutes of it. And let's bring JC in on the Titan MR hotline. Good morning, JC. How are you?
Good morning, QB. Basketball last night was interesting. I don't know how, this Alabama team you just mentioned, I don't know if they're the same team they were last year. You don't go and lose to a winless conference team that's probably the worst they've had in years. But they did that. Congratulations.
It happens. It happens.
It does.
Hey, it happens. The University of Alabama is struggling winning at anything right now. Listen to this stat, JC. I like to come up with some stats for you.
Yeah.
Ever since Alabama won here in the O'Connell Center, they've gone 2-4 since then. Listen to their next three games.
Okay.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
Baylor,
L.
Auburn,
L.
and Kentucky.
L. Yeah, and the thing is that Nate Oates thought he had a real potential Final Four team. I don't see it with this group. Then you've got Missouri really playing hard at home, and then Mississippi State really playing hard on the road, scoring 48 points in the second half. QB Calipari escapes with his 800th win as a head coach in basketball, and Mississippi State has a real pleasure drive coming up as well because they have to go to Texas Tech as part of the SEC Big 12 Challenge, which is going to be really interesting this weekend. But they have to play at Lubbock, so that's probably going to be an L. Then they get to play, the good teams in the SEC, such as, they get to go to Arkansas. Good luck there. They get Tennessee at home, and then they have to travel to LSU. It is a hard league, man. This SEC and this Big 12 have some really stout basketball teams. And last night in the Pac-12, I know you don't really follow the Pac-12 that much, but they've got three very legitimate teams in that conference as well with Arizona, UCLA, and USC. And last night, UCLA just jumped all over Arizona, who has been really a very good team up to this point. Well, it still is, but only had one loss going into that UCLA game. The Bros just knocked them around. So some three good teams in the Pac-12, but these two conferences that we're going to see challenge this weekend with, I think Florida's going to get Okie State. Is that right? Or who
yes. Yeah, we get Okie State. There are some great games. The national experts say the SEC and the Big 12 are the two best conferences in college basketball. So this weekend, we'll do Friday, JC. Okay. We have obviously the AFC and NFC championship games to pick, but let's do every Big 12 SEC game.
I like that. That's a great idea for the Peachland Dental Picks contest. And they have two conference teams that will not be playing, or four, I think, that won't be playing. Georgia, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, and Texas A&M, I think, are not going to be in that big round robin. But we're still going to have 10 teams playing because that's all the Big 12 has is 10 teams. So that'll be good. That'll be really
A&M's got a really good basketball team. I like their coach, Buzz Peterson. I think he's a really good basketball coach. And out of those teams you just mentioned that aren't playing, three of the four are bad basketball teams. I wish A&M was playing for the conference. We got a couple of Facebook Lives here brought to you by Melon. Before I get to those, since we're talking college basketball, Gators tip at 6 o'clock Eastern time, early start on the SEC network against Tennessee. So I want to talk about that Auburn game. Okay. If you're a basketball coach, JC, and I think Conzo Martin's a pretty good coach, You know, he's won a lot of places. Okay, they make it a 1-point game with about 35 seconds left. Okay, shot clock in college basketball is 30 seconds. So would you foul, try to get a steal, maybe play defense for a few minutes, try to get a steal, if not foul? Or do you play like what Missouri did? You know, Auburn bangs the ball on the deck till about 6 seconds, and then they go and they throw one up on the glass. It gets tipped, knocked out of bounds, game over. Missouri doesn't even get to touch the ball.
They don't get to touch the ball.
If I'm a basketball coach, I can't play those odds because 5 to 6 seconds to me, if you play great defense, is not going to give you enough time to get back down the court, and you're probably going to throw up like a Hail Mary before the 3-point line. What would you do?
Well, if there's 30 seconds left, I tell them to foul at 20 or 15. And if you do go down by 3, at least you have a chance to tie the game. If you don't have the ball,
they're down 1. They're down 1 point.
I know they're down 1. So I'm telling these guys with 15 seconds left, maybe 20, go ahead and foul. If we go down 3, at least we have a chance to tie the game. If we don't have the ball, we can't tie the game.
Right.
So I'm thinking that you go ahead and foul anybody that you think may have a chance of making 0 or 1 of the 2 free throws. But if he happens to make them both, then
you still have a chance to tie it up.
Have a chance to tie the game. So that's how I would have handled it. And you're basically hoping for a turnover, but Auburn didn't have to do anything. So that's what kind of confused me too. It's like, what? Wait a minute, this is over? Missouri didn't even get a chance to tie the basketball game. So that's kind of how I agree.
Yeah, I just that to me, that strategy makes no sense.
But I would have given myself time to get the shot off. I would have said foul 15 or 20 seconds, just so you can get down court and set up for either a 2 or a 3 to either win or tie the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. Alabama is struggling in basketball right now, and somebody on here said, "I'd love to see Alabama lose." Facebook Live brought to you by Melon Law. John says, "I thought JC had a San Francisco Giants hat on. The travesty that happened with Bonds and Clemens." All right, I was going to bring that up. I don't follow Major League Baseball. I mean, I watch the playoffs, but I don't get into all the Hall of Fame. And I was not aware, and maybe I'm embarrassed to say this, but you can only be up for so many years to go in the Hall of Fame, and then you can't ever go back on the ballot. Is that correct, JC?
I wasn't aware of that. I always thought that if somebody wanted to vote Pete Rose in after he died, he could still be in. So
I thought I heard or read that now Bonds and Clemens' time is up, which to me makes no sense.
No, I would say that's probably not true.
I'm sure somebody will correct me here.
I will tell you this. Well, ask Edgar. Edgar would probably know. He looks like the kind of guy who would know something like that. But I would say QB, that if you don't have the game's leading hitter in the Hall of Fame, then what you've got are a bunch of voters and writers who basically just either hold grudges or uphold old commissioner mandates. And I think it's time we got Pete Rose in the damn Hall of Fame. And as far as the steroid era goes, I can go back to players who played when all they did was drink whiskey on trains and travel from one town to another in the middle of the night and go to whorehouses. Basically, these guys are in the Hall of Fame. So don't give me all of this morality when it comes to the Hall of Fame. Just tell me what happened on the field. Award the guys who did what they did on the field. As far as cheating goes with the steroids, man, that one's a tough one for me. But as far as Pete Rose goes, that one's an easy one.
Yeah, we got a bunch of texts here. Facebook Lives. Alan says Baseball Hall of Fame is a joke. Bonds and Clemens' time is up. They can't go in the Hall of Fame now. I've never understood that. Because in the NFL, let's just use. Like Drew Pearson, he just went in, I think, recently, but he's been on the ballot. And like Tony Baselli, I think Baselli needs to be in the Hall of Fame, and he's been in the top 25, and they cut it to 10 or 15. But you can be up on the ballot as many times as you want in football, I believe, but baseball is not. So John says David Ortiz tested positive in 2003, and he was a first ballot Hall of Fame. Yeah, so David Ortiz went in.
He has
tested positive. So
popularity contest in a lot of ways, man. Like I said, the Ty Cobbs and the guys back in the 20s and 30s, dude, come on. Again, if it's a morality thing, forget about it. It's not legitimate. The thing is that I've always heard that Pete Rose, whether he was alive or dead, at some point in the future could be put into the Hall of Fame. And all I can say is if you've got a guy who has more hits than anyone else and he's not in the Hall of Fame because he bet on his team to beat the Cardinals on a Tuesday night, I don't know if I have a problem. I mean, maybe at not the first ballot or second or third, but at some point, Pete Rose has got to go in. That's just, I've always believed that. I'm not a baseball writer, but I don't really want to be either. So that's how I feel.
Well, we got it's very interesting that you only have a certain period of time to go in it. That's what's,
I've never known that. If that's a new thing.
Well, I've had a bunch of people tell me it's correct that that their time is up.
We're gonna go with that's ridiculous, but we're gonna go with our viewers and listeners on this one. I just think that's ridiculous. What does it matter if you go in posthumously after you've died, or if you go in while you're alive? Well, I guess the difference is that when you're alive, you can see yourself go in. But there's plenty of football players, QB, that go in after they've passed away. Plenty of them.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe somebody can give us the exact time frame you have. Wrap Spot's opening a second location in the heart of Gainesville at 1931 North Main Street. Wrap Spot's teamed up with Vibrant Vinyl Works to offer color change wraps, advertising wraps, custom striping, hood wraps, and wall wraps. Go check out Wrap Spot. Speaking with JC on the Titan MR hotline. And
someone wants to call you. Here. Someone wants to speak you on the QB hotline.
That was the Titan MR hotline. They were calling me.
Yeah.
So real quick, switching gears from Major League Baseball to the National Football League. Sean Payton, who I think is a great football coach, steps down from the Saints. John says here, $71 million above the salary cap probably made it easy decision for him to get out. I think quarterback problems have made it easy for him to leave too. Your thoughts on Sean Payton stepping down?
Well, I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't know the salary cap situation, but I guess that pretty much precludes them from being able to get Aaron Rodgers. So it's the rules with salary cap, the way the GMs structure their rosters, really sometimes are out of the hands of coaches. And I think he's just at the point where he realizes that it's just useless to try to go 8-8 and win in football. They had so many chances. They did win it once, but they should have gone maybe one or two other times. And I think he just had enough and wants to go in the TV booth. I think he wants to be a television broadcaster. And, I know that coaches coach and will always want to coach until they're done coaching, but maybe he has finally hit the end of the line and wants to do something else like talk about it on television.
We got a text on the Titan MR text line from our good buddy Rod. He says, with Baseball Hall of Fame, I think you only have so many years to be on the ballot. But after that, you can be a write-in candidate at any time, but it's very unlikely you would get voted in as a write-in candidate. So,
well, whatever the silly rule is today can always be changed later. But the fact of the matter is that this guy struck out a lot of people and this other guy hit a lot of home runs. And whether they pumped their heads up and their heads went from this size to this size, is the other question that I'm having trouble with trying to answer. But I do know that if this is a morality thing, or if cheating was something that is basically a discretionary thought and is either confused with, gamesmanship or whatever the case may be, there are a lot of guys in the history of baseball who you would not want to bring home to your parents for dinner, okay, that are in the Hall of Fame. A lot of them. Like I said, whiskey and trains and everything else that came in between was the way it was in the day, and those guys are in the Hall of Fame. So I know this has to do with the game being manipulated by people who are trying to get an advantage, but I think over time you have to just look at, what were they on the field? And maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe the steroid era just should not have.
Well, everybody has their own opinion. We're not going to hold that against you, JC. Rick says on Facebook Live, he says, okay, the period of time a player used to be eligible to sit on the Hall of Fame ballot was 15 years, but the Hall of Fame knocked it down to 10 years in 2014, seemingly in light of worries from some Hall of Famers over Bonds and Clemens and their PED ties possibly getting.
All right. Well, that's it, isn't it? The Hall of Famers that are still alive don't want to have those guys in the same room.
Well, here's what's crazy. Here's what's crazy, and I kind of agree with Kevin here. Kevin says he's never understood why the media picks who goes in the Hall of Fame and not the players.
Well, players, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But, QB, the thing is that, they can change the rules to this Hall of Fame balloting at any point. It just comes down to whether or not they want, people who were shooting up to get into that room. And I can tell you, that's a problem. But there's been a lot of problems with guys that are in that room, folks, that we don't know about. And that's just the way it was back in those days. I don't think the steroid thing, when it was happening, before McGuire and Sosa and Clemens and Bonds and Rafael Palmeiro, who as well as I do is one of the greatest hitters you've ever seen play. Before they started taking needles, were they any good at baseball?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were really good at baseball even before they started juicing. And they juiced because that's what they felt was required to stay on top of the game. And I know it was a mistake, just like Pete Rose taking the Milwaukee Brewers against his Reds. But the point is, or his Reds rather, against the Brewers. But the point is that before these guys were doing what they did, they were damn good at baseball. And that's all I really think about when I think about it. So maybe I'm flawed in that thinking, and I will accept that. But I also know, again, for the fifth time, these guys that took trains and got drunk weren't the kind of guys you'd want to bring home to mom.
Yeah. All right. Back to the NFL. Got a text from the Titan MR text line from Derry. Says, "Good morning, guys. It sounds like the Jags are going to hire Byron Leftwich." John says, "How is this hire any different than the Dolphins hiring Adam Gase off what Peyton did in Denver? Jags should have gone with an experienced head coach like Todd Bowles." Look.
I think Todd's had his chance, man. This guy, he didn't do it with the Jets. Why do you want to retread that? Give someone else a shot. I disagree with Todd Bowles.
Yeah. Tyler says
he failed at the Jets. He failed.
Well, everybody fails at the Jets.
Yeah, especially with Tom Brady sitting across the street. I get that.
Yeah. Tyler says, "I've heard Tebow was offered the QB job by Sean Payton a few years back and he turned it down." I don't know about that. I don't know if that was true. Andy says, "I think Mickey Mantle was one of those guys." I guess he's referring to you drinking and jiving and all that stuff.
Well, I was thinking more about Ty Cobb, okay? Some of those guys in the 20s, guys that intentionally tried to hurt you on the field with their metal cleats. I've read all kinds of crazy stories. Just look up Ken Burns and read his historical perspective of baseball, and you'll realize that there were some real kooks and some real bad dudes that are in the Hall of Fame. Okay.
Yeah. So, Tyler says everyone is taking something to get an edge. They just haven't been caught. Yeah. So I'm trying to remember the NFL steroid policy. I used to get tested all the time at like $1.95, JC. I'm like, why the hell am I having to go get tested when y'all know good and well I ain't on any steroids? And there's other dudes walking around the locker room that are juiced up like you wouldn't believe. I think they picked and choose who they wanted to go to do the test. John says, "Look what happened when Bill Belichick got a second chance, JC, at a head job."
Yeah, I mean, this guy spied on my Rams. What a loser. So, there have always been things that you can, it's a subjective deal. We all know it's subjective. As far as the rules of how many times you can get in, that changes. I think it's always going to change. I don't know if we'll ever see these guys in our lifetime get in the Hall of Fame. Not that I really stay up at night thinking about it, but I do think that they were good even before the juicing. But they do bring up a good point about the players.
I mean, what makes writers the people that should vote for those type of things?
The same reason why I guess they vote for the Heisman. You do allow players to vote for the Heisman as well.
The only people that vote for the Heisman are the guys that actually won the Heisman. So I don't know. Do Hall of Fame people that are in the Hall of Fame, do they get votes? I'm asking you questions you don't know the answer to.
Edgar, I bet you Edgar Thompson would be.
You think Edgar would know that kind of stuff?
He looks like the kind of guy that knows that kind of stuff.
You think he sits around figuring out who's going to be in the Hall of Fames?
I think Edgar can bring us a little bit more clarity on some of those rules and regulations. I do think, though, that it's a bunch of baloney a lot of times. Pete Rose needs to be in the Hall of Fame, please.
I agree. Camp says, PD aside, there have been all types of medical, technological advances that have given players of today advantages over players throughout baseball's history. And that is so true.
That's absolutely right. And I think, but there was a point you mentioned earlier that one of our listeners or viewers said that the former players have the guys in the Hall today have a real problem with those other two coming in the same room. And that, I'm sorry, you don't have to like everybody that's in the same room with you, but that's probably why we've seen what we've seen with the duration of the balloting eligibility.
That is true. If you've got joint pain in your knee, shoulders, hip, or back, which these baseball players should have called QC Kinetics instead of juicing up.
I don't think it was there back then.
They'd be in the Hall of Fame now if they'd called QC Kinetics.
Well, yeah.
You need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule a free consultation at QC Kinetics. Give them a call, 352-400-4550.
QB, you were saying how Alabama loses everything now. They can't win anything. They did win I don't think you can see this. Those are cheerleaders.
Oh, they're the national champs in cheerleading, right?
The cheerleading team, the all-girl UCA championship was won by the Crimson and White. Congratulations. So they're not losers at everything in 2022.
Well, I mean, y'all are getting that loser mentality around campus.
I just have this.
Did you hear the crowd at Stegman Coliseum last night at the end of that game?
No, I had the volume down.
It was something like the whole crowd was going, same as football.
Look, do you know what Georgia's going to be? This is what Georgia's going to be. I can tell you this. If you've seen the players they've lost on this roster going into next year, and I know they're
reload, JC. They're like Alabama now.
You know what Georgia's going to be? Georgia's going to be LSU Part 2. They're going to have one of those great, once in 20-year type teams, which is what they had. And then next year, they're going to lose 3 games. So it happened to Alabama in 2009.
I don't know.
It probably won't.
I don't think they're going to lose 3 games.
Well,
they may lose a couple. I haven't looked at their schedule.
Yeah. Well, it happened to Alabama after the 2009 undefeated season. They played in 2010 and lost 3 games. They had a schedule where they played 7 teams, 5 on the road that had off dates. There was just things that happened that just didn't. And they had more talent on that 2010 team probably than they did on the 2009 or 2011 team.
John says on Facebook Live, they show up to Bryant Denny to watch the cheerleaders. They don't watch football team anymore. You know what? There's a national champion in that stadium somewhere. You just got right. Y'all went back to back, football and cheerleading.
Yeah.
All right. Rick says here, we're trying to get clarification on this thing. I don't know why I even brought up the Major League Baseball thing, but we did. Players are currently, and it goes away again. Hang on. Players are currently inducted to the Hall of Fame through the election by either the Baseball Writers Association of America or the Veterans Committee, which now consists of 4 subcommittees, each of which considers and votes for candidates from separate eras of baseball.
Good Lord.
It just sounds like a total mess to me on that. So,
well, yeah, I get it, but these baseball writers, the purists out there, and here we are having American League teams play National League teams in the middle of the season. Oh, the outrage! We have 2 wild card teams. Oh, the outrage! So things have to change. They have to evolve. I think eventually the Hall of Fame will figure that out too.
Yeah. All right, JC, before we let you go, we're going to get to Edgar here in a minute. We're going to talk a little Gator recruiting and Gator sports with him.
Tennessee tomorrow night, dude. I don't like the
That's tonight. That's tonight at 6 o'clock.
Tonight's Wednesday. 6 o'clock games on Wednesday seem to be the way it's going for Florida. They played at 6 o'clock last week against Mississippi State on a Wednesday. Now this one's on the road, but they're 10-point underdogs tonight. I think I'd take Tennessee still.
Tennessee's a strong basketball team. I don't like our chances. You got to make shots, man. You got to make shots to win, and we're not a very good shooting team. But I was going to ask you, since today is Wednesday and tomorrow, we need to start our golf picks. The Farmers Insurance starts tomorrow. I was going to let you pick 3 golfers for our Peachland Dentistry golf picks. Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com.
I got 3. I got my 3 right now.
Okay. Give me your 3, and then I'll throw my 3 out.
Okay. My 3 are going to be Matsuyama, Day.
God dang it. All right.
But although John Rahm is my favorite, Matsuyama, Day. I kind of like the Shambo too. Now, Matsuyama, Day, and JT. How about that?
You got Justin Thomas.
This is at Torrey Pines, is it not?
No, I thought this is the one in Arizona. Oh, it is Torrey Pines. You're right.
Yeah,
this is the Farmers.
So, yeah, you got to play your Torrey Pines guys. So
you got to play your okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and take John Rahm.
And Koepka.
No, Koepka's not ready yet.
Okay.
I'm going to take my California boys.
Max
Morikawa.
Okay. He won it there.
And Morikawa, he's a California kid.
Yeah, he's won a
And
tournament.
my other California kid is who?
Max Homa?
Xander.
Oh, jeez.
Is he in the tournament? Yeah, he's in the tournament.
I can't believe you would pick Xander Schauffele. You never take him.
Well, I was going to take Hideki because Hideki's coming off his big win in Hawaii.
Yeah, I like Hideki's game, man. It's so good. And I think golf is really going to have a great year this year. I don't know why it'd be any greater than previous years, but I think we're going to see probably a repeat major champion this year.
You know what's crazy is, because I love watching golf, mostly the majors, but I was flipping through the channels, maybe it was this weekend, and the Champions Tour, I don't remember where they were playing. I think they were in Hawaii as well.
They were.
Like, holy cow. I mean, back, it seems like not too long ago, you turn on the Champions Tour, you may not, you knew a lot of guys, but not the entire field. Mm-hmm. Well, the entire field is Jim Furyk, Retief Goosen, VJ. I mean, it's so many good players.
Yeah, all you got to do is just be 50. I mean, QB, you could qualify. Well,
I could. That was my goal. When I was playing football, my goal was to play on the senior tour because I had played in some events with the senior tour that the NFL was associated with. And some of those guys like Jim Colbert, I had Asai Aoki I played with, and he had his interpreter. He's like, his interpreter's like, you got a chance. You could play on the senior tour. Well, I've been the same ever since. I haven't gotten any better, but that was fun.
Well, what would you do, QB? Here's before I let me go. Would you rather play on the senior tour or sing in Nashville in front of a crowd at Bridgestone Arena on a Friday and Saturday night?
Well, that's tough. Now, are you talking about just one concert, one event on golf?
You'd be a pro golfer, or you'd be on
and I'd be a lead singer of a country music group,
or you'd be a recording artist with a label.
Oh, there's no pressure doing that because when you screw up, people are so drunk they don't know if you screwed up or not.
Yeah, I mean,
but I still would probably have to do the golf because I like to compete, and that would be fun.
That's awesome.
So real quick, let's get to there was one Facebook Live, if I can find it. It was an interesting question John threw out there. Do you take the Chiefs or the field to win the Super Bowl?
I would see that. Yeah, that is a great question. Good job there, John. Good job. Because I was thinking, I've often asked you those questions. I think you got to go with Kansas City if they're healthy, just because of the quarterback. Now, that's not to say the other 3 guys aren't capable. Even Garoppolo is capable. And San Francisco, let's remember, folks, 2 years ago or whenever they played them, it was 2 years ago. They had Kansas City by the what in the third quarter, and probably could have should have won the game. I don't know. I think I would just take the Chiefs and take the odds. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are the best team.
Now.
Yeah. I mean, you saw the 2 best teams played the other night.
Whoever wins that NFC game is going to be playing in a predominantly home scenario, I think, in California, in LA, with the Niners and the Rams. If the Niners can get healthy, QB, and I think if they can beat the Rams one more time and they get healthy, they get 2 weeks to heal up, that team is capable of beating anybody, as we know. Even with the problems they had getting in as a 6th seed, when they are so tough and resilient. I'm really impressed with the 49ers. So I don't know. I think I'd still go with Kansas City, but the 49ers, I think, are right now, I'd call them the toughest team. If you have
before I let you go, we got to do this day in sports, JC. I got two today. I got one. It's brought to you by our Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's not hiring members with all levels of experience. $1,000 signing bonus. Give them a call, 352-376-2366. In 1991, the Houston Rockets guard, a guy named Vernon Maxwell.
New Holtz High School, baby.
He became the fifth player in the NBA history to score 30 points in just one quarter. Wow. He joined Wilt Chamberlain, David Thompson, George Gervin, and Michael Jordan. Can you imagine scoring 30 in a quarter?
No, it's kind of like what the Chiefs did in 2 minutes against Buffalo.
Yeah.
It really is.
So I'm going to get Vernon on the show here one day. I've been texting back and forth with him.
Call him Hawk. He's Hawk.
Yeah, but there's one other thing that happened on this date. I think it was 39 years ago, JC, on this date. You should know this.
I should, but 39 years. Well, 39 years ago.
39 years ago, a famous football coach passed away on this date. 39 years ago.
It would be Paul William Bear Bryant.
Yes.
And I saw him 3 days before he went into Druid City Medical Center, walking across the parking lot of Memorial Coliseum. He told us to get to class. He looked at us and said, "Get to class, boys." And he was walking across the parking lot. It was about 30 degrees, and we were out there trying to figure out how to get tickets for the basketball game that night. And he told us to get to class. 3 days later, he goes to Druid City Medical Center. 3 weeks later, he's on I-59 heading to Birmingham for the funeral. So that was a shocker because we didn't think he was going to die. We thought he was just going to go in for some procedures, but he didn't make it. The Bear. Yeah. He was something else, man. He ruled the world. He really did.
What did he die from? I don't even remember.
It's just, I think he had some heart complications, and he didn't really take care of himself. He was only 60. I want to say he was 68. I want to say it was heart complications or lungs. And he smoked like a chimney. But man, was that guy was larger than life. And I happened to see him there in '83. He died in January of '83. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly right. 39 years ago. God, 39 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, we're old. All right, JC, good stuff as always. We'll talk to you on.
Okay. We'll do picks. Okay.
Hang on, man. That's JC joining us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take our first time out. Come back. We're going to be joined by Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Get his thoughts on Gator recruiting, Gator sports, anything you may want to ask Edgar. He's got the answer. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Regal Cinemas, Le Macaron, Dave & Buster's, Medici's, Palmetto Moon, and the HBC's restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, now serving brunch on Saturday and Sundays. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to head back to the Titan MR hotline. We're going to be joined by a good friend of the program, Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. Good morning, Edgar. How are you, bud?
Pretty good, man. I'm down here in Orlando at the PGA show. So
rough life, Edgar.
So I was here yesterday in the rain. Well, no one's here.
No one's there? We got to
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
not really.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this, Edgar. Are you a baseball fan?
I mean, I follow the history of the game a bit, but I don't like sit and watch a bunch of games.
No, that's not what I was talking, because JC and I were just talking. We had a bunch of our listeners. We were talking about the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, how you only have why do they only give you a certain period of time? And one of our listeners kind of told us it's more to get rid of these so-called PED users. But isn't it weird that you have a certain period of time, and then once that time is up, you're no longer eligible to go on the ballot?
How does the pro football one work? Because they have some sort of window too, I believe.
They
and
do.
Then you move into the senior committee deal.
But it seems like the Drew Pearsons and some of these older gentlemen that have just been in the NFL Hall of Fame have been on the ballots for years. I don't know. I haven't really.
Well, no, they fall off. They fall off, then they come back on a senior kind of deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we could talk Hall of Fame for a while. I'm not a proponent of penalize. Look, where are we going to start getting all this stuff that guys did back in the day? What and all the Hall of Fames. I mean, you're telling me? I mean, come on, man. The steroid abuse in the NFL for years. Good. Let's stick on the list of guys that are in that. So whatever. I think the Clemens and Bond, fantastic, incredible players. They were the best pitcher and hitter of my time watching baseball. So that's where I stand on it. But it's probably an unpopular opinion. It won't be the first.
It's a dicey deal. All right, let's talk Gators. Obviously you've been to some press conferences since Billy Napier's taken over. The word around the country, he and his staff have done a phenomenal job recruiting. Supposedly they're keeping their fingers crossed. This number one linebacker in America decommitted from A&M. It's going to come down between LSU and Florida. Just for the last 2 months, I know you've been digging and writing articles. Just your thoughts on how it's gone so far, in your opinion, for Billy Napier.
I mean, he's off to a great start if you look at all the data and the ranking type stuff, right? Because I'm not going to, dig in and say, I don't have my, finger on the pulse of recruiting necessarily. Like Harold Perkins, that would be a heck of a get. I can look at that and say, yeah. As for some of these guys, I mean, some of them are developmental guys. These transfers, a few of them are from Louisiana. Some question whether they make the jump to the SEC. I think Billy is confident they can if he brought him over here, right? So I'll defer to him on that. But when you look at the rankings, the Gators are now 26 in the recruiting rankings. They were outside the top 50 when Dan left. They were way down. So he's moved them up, significantly. And Perkins would bump them up, I'm sure, into the top, into the teens easily. And when you look at 24/7 Sports, again, I'll defer to them. I mean, they got boots on the ground everywhere, right? They have rated the 29 or 28 new staffs, I guess 29, and Florida got an A+. In fact, I was looking at this just last night. Oklahoma and Oregon and LSU and Texas Tech got A's. I don't think it's the hardest grading system. I would have liked this in school, but A+ for Florida. So, but there are ones that are failing. I mean, we have a couple of big time. I mean, TCU is D+, and that's a legit program. Miami's B-. So Miami's B-. Everybody was talking about Mario, is going to come change bring the U back. Well, they're 12th on this list, and Florida's 1. So that's a good sign. And I don't know enough about these staff guys. I mean, look, man, you played in the NFL for years. You know the game, and you know a lot behind the scenes stuff. I don't know what you know about some of these guys, but I can tell you this. Corey Raymond is generating tremendous buzz, rightly so. And he's a big reason Jalen Kimber came here. Jalen Kimber is being pursued by Jackson State. I mean, Dion wanted that kid big time, and being pursued by a number of schools. Alabama. I mean, this kid had a lot of choices. This is the Georgia kid who is now here. He was a projected starter. going into the spring, coming off an injury, and the Gators have him. And that's a nice guy to book in with Jason Marshall, I thought came on as the season progressed.
Yes, we have a Facebook Live question for you. It's the $1 million question, Edgar.
Okay.
And Andy wants to know, who does Edgar think will be the starting QB week 1?
I don't think it's going out on a limb to say Anthony Richardson, right? I mean, a lot's got to play out, but I got to think Napier, you and I spoke, multiple times. I mean, he's suited to that offense. It's a question of if he can stay healthy. And this new strength coach, a lot of buzz about this guy. I mean, Alabama back, Georgia under Mark Richt for a while. If this guy can figure out how to get this guy's body right, because that's a big part of it. They talked about it last year, that he's almost too big for his frame. I mean, right? His frame and his explosiveness is almost too much. He hurts himself, pulls hammies, does things. So we know the guy's got incredible talent. Can Napier build an offense that he can manage and understand what he's seeing out there in his first year as a full-time starter? You got it right. I mean, don't you think it's got to be Richardson? I mean, don't you think that Napier had to be excited coming here for that kid?
I do, but I do know they wanted the Jack Miller guy. That was like their number one target.
Okay, well, there you go. You know more than me.
Well, but that doesn't mean, I mean, it's going to be great competition, which is good. I think they're two different type of players. I mean, I've only seen about 5 snaps of Jack Miller in a spring game. But I do know Napier had a good relationship with him, tried to sign him, I think, to Arizona State when he was out there. But he's a thrower. And but you're right. I mean, from a talent specimen standpoint, he's got to be liking what he's seen from Anthony Richardson. Can he run what he wants to run? We really don't know what Billy Napier wants to do here offensively. It may be totally different than what he did at Louisiana. Because I'm a firm believer, not because I'm a thrower, but if you watch college football these days, you have to have a high percentage thrower that knows what to do and makes good decisions. So we'll see, but that's a great question. I think that's what spring practice is going to be very exciting about that.
No, and I didn't mean to interrupt. I mean, look, it's always that, right? I've been writing these stories since the Del Rio whatever competition, Frank Trask, Driscoll and Treon or whatever. It was a competition. I can't even remember now. I mean, these things blend together, but every year that's the story going into spring, right? I mean, who's going to be the guy? And Will Greer and Treon was actually a real competition, I guess. And Maxwell didn't even start.
Just that statement there makes me laugh.
I mean, he didn't start Greer until the 3rd week of the season, right? At Kentucky.
Yeah.
So, but the point being is every year there's one. The difference is this year, it sounds like you got a couple of good choices because those weren't great choices, right? Yeah,
no doubt. This is a pretty good question here on Facebook Live. Well, first of all, we have a stat here. My listeners give me great stats, Edgar. Joseph said he saw a stat.
Pass my way.
68% of the guys that Napier's had on campus have now committed. I guess that's a pretty good percentage, almost 70%. And John asked, does the QB choice not depend on, gosh dang it, this thing goes away when I'm trying to read it. Does the QB choice not depend upon how good the O-line is? See, I look at it this way. If you look at it, let's just say you don't have a very good offensive line. Anthony can make the line look good because he can run around and make plays, okay? But then a guy like a Jack Miller, and again, I'm assuming he's intelligent, makes good decisions, and a good thrower. He can get rid of the ball, know where to go with it on his hot reads and timing and things of that nature, that even if your guy's whiff, he can still get rid of the football. So it depends. I didn't really answer that question, but it just depends.
Well, obviously this Miller, I think he was 13th pro style coming out of high school, 4-star guy. Very, very solid prospect. Ends up at Ohio State. I just don't know anything about him, man. That's why I'm deferring to Richardson because I've actually seen him. And when at his best, he's looks like a transcendent player potentially, but he got hurt multiple times and he can make some really bad decisions. But he made some good throws last year too, surprisingly good at times. I mean, he made a few throws last year. I'd be like, whoa, I didn't know he could throw it so well. So
Yeah.
it's a real huge offseason for him. And now he's still like 19 till May. I mean, he's still. But, now he's going to be maturing. And this is a huge offseason for him to get healthy, to get his body right, and to really dig in and learn what Billy Napier needs from him.
Yeah, James says if Richard stays healthy, he will be a freak of nature. I was asking you about this yesterday, Shane. I know the question is healthy, but if he can get there, will he be a Heisman candidate? Possibly. I don't worry about a Heisman candidate. Where Anthony needs to get better, and of course, it's a small body of work that we've seen, is decision making and accuracy. I don't give a damn if he runs 70 yards and hurdles 4 guys for a touchdown. I don't care about that. I know the fans love that. But that has nothing to do with playing quarterback. And that's the only part that concerns me. Can he do it? I think I've seen times, like you just said, Edgar, there's been times when he's looked really good, then he's made some bad throws. It happens. But it's just a decision-making and accuracy and anticipation.
Now, point something else.
What's that?
May I point out something, please?
Yeah.
They open with Utah. Then they get Kentucky. Okay? At South Florida, at Tennessee. That's their first 4 games, the Gators. I mean, that's not easy. And you get Eastern Washington, Missouri, but then you get LSU, then you got Georgia, then you're at A&M. So they have a couple of stretches that are brutal.
Yeah, that is brutal.
Right? I mean, the schedule is brutal. So Heisman, I mean, I love the enthusiasm, but man, I mean, he's gonna. That's a heck of a schedule. I mean, I'm not saying the Gators are going to be this, but they could be 1-3. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't think it is, but that's a tough schedule, man. No, you think I want that? I mean, Napier, he's not going to be having any fun at 1-3. We want a honeymoon period, man.
Yeah. James says if we don't start Richardson, he will be playing for Lane. That's not the case. I mean, look, again, I think he's got talent to play, but again, there's more than what the average fan sees from the wild plays. That's what I don't think people understand. Am I making that clear, Edgar?
Yes. And you're not going to make those plays hurdling Utah's defense. No. You're just not. And that's kind of the point I'm making.
Yeah, we need somebody to play quarterback at this level, to be an elite player, to get us to where we need to be. It's decision-making, accuracy, and anticipation. That's simple. John wants me to compare AR-15 to Steve McNair. Steve McNair was an elite thrower of the football. Elite. Anthony is not. That's my comparison.
And what was Steve McNair that's interesting? I always bring him up as an example. Him and Aaron Rodgers maybe really only there was one recently, I think, that sat 2. Steve McNair sat for 3 years.
Who did he sit behind? I'm trying to remember.
I don't Richardson? I don't remember, but he did sit a long time. We're going old school now. You know what I'm saying? Guys used to sit and learn. Aaron Rodgers sat and learned. Look how good he is. So, I mean, let's hope Richardson learns some stuff his last 2 years, because that's going to be key.
Yep. Chris Doring-Moores, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring-Moores today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Edgar Thompson, a few more minutes. Tyler says, Shane, did you watch the Richardson LSU game? I called the game, Tyler. He made some really nice throws in that game and all sprawl. Look, I don't know how else to explain this. Okay. LSU was not a very good team. They played man coverage every time. Throwing against man coverage is way easier than throwing against zone, because in man coverage, you're just looking at one guy. He's got to beat that one guy's zone. There's a lot of other stuff. So what I'm just trying to say is, I think he's got a chance, but penciling him in right now is not the answer. That's why they went and got Jack Miller, folks. That's what I'm just trying to tell you. So I think people misunderstand when I talk about being in one game ain't going to get it. You got to be a high percentage thrower in college football these days. You got to be about 65, 70%. Everybody is. So anyway, Edgar, before we let you go, I know you follow basketball. How crucial is tonight's game against Tennessee? Do we have any chance?
They have a lot of depth. They're at home. I mean, talented roster with some. It could be ugly, man. I mean, that game the other night caught me off guard. I got to be honest, but it exposed what we've seen all year: over-reliance in the three-pointer. Really under Mike White in general. I mean, there's been an over-reliance at points, and when they don't go, it can look really bad. And then they just broke down defensively to open the second half, and that was a brutal performance. It is really as shaky as it's looked. I just don't know what to make of this program right now, man. I mean, they start 6-0, they're 14th in the nation, playing with effort, looking like they got an edge. They lost that edge, then they got it back. Now, the other day, I mean, how did they come back from this game? I mean, the game Monday night, and they don't have their best player, Castle. And for the second year in a row, their best player is out. I mean, Keontae last year, tragically, and now Colin. And we don't even know. There's no information coming out on him, but it doesn't seem like he's going to be back anytime soon.
Yeah. So we'll see tonight at 6 o'clock. Edgar, good stuff as always. So you're heading to the PGA show. Do you walk around trying to get free balls, or what are you trying to do?
I was at a Wilson display of their new Triad ball last night, which was kind of cool. I'll get you into it. I'll give you a sleeve when I see you. They gave me a dozen golf balls. So that went through my nose. Like I said, no one came because of the pandemic. So I'm working on some things that are a little different this year than like seeing all the biggies. Because it's fun, man. You can go hit all the new clubs and do all that. They're not here.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. Good stuff as always, Edgar. We appreciate you taking the time, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yep, that's Edgar Thompson. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Take our final time out. Come back, wrap up this Wednesday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Steve Spurrier here. You know, making a reservation at my restaurant is easier than a Saturday afternoon homecoming game against Vandy. You don't have to call or email. Just go to spurriers.com, hit the reservation button, pick a date, number of guests, and a time. It's so simple, I can do it. In fact, I just did. Maybe I'll see you tonight.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. South State Bank, we understand that small businesses need a community business partner they can rely on. South State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank JC and Edgar Thompson joining us on the Titan MR hotline. On Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, Mary Helen says, we can't sit around and worry about if a player doesn't get his way, he will leave. Let's hope they all work at improving themselves. Amen to that. Yeah, you can't worry about if this guy doesn't play, he's going to transfer. Look, if he's the best player, I think you got to trust Billy Napier. He'll play him. Okay. I think Anthony's got a lot of talent. We shall see. But they went and got Jack Miller for a reason. I think a lot of people are crossing their fingers that if he's anything like the last Ohio State quarterback transfer, we'll be all right. Shane, I'll take AR going 20 of 25 with 3 TDs and no picks. Asa, me too, partner. That's a pretty good day at the office. Just don't want one of those 13 of 28 days. That's what you don't want, especially in college football these days. All right, so we're gonna tomorrow's Brent Beard. Gators at 6:00 tonight against Tennessee. Keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully we can find a way to win in Knoxville. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Take care.